What's up, you guys? Marty Schwartz here. I'm going to talk about some lead guitar. Anyway, I remember when I basically knew one scale and I played it very poorly, and I remember being really frustrated just trying to find the right direction. You know, I'd buy these books and it was like so overwhelming, too much information at one time, and I really can relate to the people out there that are still trying to find that right direction on how to actually start, making their solos sound like solos as opposed to, some pattern or something like that. So I remember way back when I was a little kid, my dad took me to see Eric Clapton in concert, and I didn't honestly, even really know much about him at the time. I was a little kid, and they busted into So I remember hearing that, and not only was I just transfixed, like hypnotized by it, but I was also got those chills, the hair standing up on my arms, not just by the way it sounded, it felt like so familiar to me, but also by the energy of the crowd when they, when you go into this like signature riff and the whole, this whole giant stadium, 7,000, 10,000 people, right into that. I mean, it was just like, I think it was before I discovered girls, it was like, it was magic. It was magic. I remember how amazing that just the guitar made me feel, especially when people were just like shredding these solos. It seemed like a completely unattainable thing. I mean, I hadn't even touched a guitar yet, so obviously I didn't even know if it was something I could do or not. But I remember not only, I went to a bunch of concerts as a kid. My dad was totally into music, and my dad plays guitar, just, like strummy stuff. But I remember like going to a sold out Guns N' Roses concert, and I remember that before the concert started, sitting in that stadium and just seeing the stage and seeing the packed house and thinking in my head, I could literally imagine being on that stage and looking out and just the feeling that I would get. What would that feel, the power of what that would feel like to, be in front of that many people, just that energy, and wondering, how do you get there? How does that happen? So I still love going out, seeing that magic happen, but it's even more awesome to actually be doing that. And it's even more awesome to remember when I didn't even think I'd ever be a musician. And so sometimes I have those little revelations on stage where I'm, I'm, and like, just like totally transfixed in the moment with my bandmates and all that stuff, and thinking, oh my God, I actually did it. I got to that thing that I always thought, I would never do. And it's an amazing feeling. It's an amazing feeling of, kind of like making your dreams come true about things that you would fantasize about as a young kid, The best part is I get to do this every weekend, and it gets better and better every single time. So the thing you might be surprised to learn is that I actually didn't even start playing guitar until I was 18 years old. Mainly for the same thing that a lot of you might feel is like, oh, it just seems too hard, or you took lessons with a bad teacher and it wasn't inspiring to you. I mean, I literally got a late start, and even then I was like, well, I just want to strum some chords. I could never do, like lead guitar stuff. I'm not going to be a lead guitar player. I was thinking more, 3-chord strumming. And so that's how I started. And then even when, I learned a couple of licks here and there, it just seemed like a very daunting task to take on. So I didn't have a specific set plan on what to practice when it came to doing solos and lead guitar. So I was really practicing a lot of the wrong things, like for hours a day, and just feeling kind of frustrated, like I wasn't really getting anywhere with it. So sometimes I'd even be, practicing something so hard, it'd get to the point where I felt like I was actually getting worse as I went along. And I'm sure a lot of you can actually relate to that. So I remember, being the kind of like the rhythm guitar guy with my buddies, and they were doing the solos, and I wanted to do that. I'd be, sitting there and kind of fantasizing that I was the one doing that while they were strumming. So that was, a big actually motivational point for me, was to just, buck up and start, figuring out, how do I go about this? All this stuff, I knew that it was possible to get there. But, I obviously had, some self-doubt if I actually had the tools to get there myself, even though I could see that somehow it was possible to get there from, literally from friends who had maybe gotten there, and I was wondering how they did it. You know what I mean? I didn't really have a set plan on what to practice. YouTube didn't exist and all that stuff. So what I ended up doing, which a lot of you may find yourself doing, is practicing everything at once. And it's information overload. You don't retain things when you practice too many things. It took me a long time to realize that I needed to take it in tiny little doses. I was just trying to do everything at once. And I see my students do that too, where, they want it all right now. Instant gratification. Look at all that stuff. Like, I'm just practice every single thing, and then you really don't get anything out of it. And like I said before, I got a late start in this whole thing. I started when I was 18, so I was already kind of thinking like, oh, I started too late, or I should have started sooner. But then I realized, as a musician now, when I talk to musicians, even guys that, started playing when they were 6 years old, they all kind of say that same thing. Oh, well, if I would have started when I was 1.5, think about how much better I would be. And I see that really, ultimately, it's practicing the right things with the right goals set in the right order is what will really get you there. And you can actually cut short how much time you put in if you're doing the right things. And so because of the fact that I really didn't, have a specific, set of things to practice, I would just kind of bounce around from one topic to the other without really knowing what I was doing or what plan I had. And I'm sure, a lot of you out there are kind of in that same position. So even though there have been times where, I've been blown away by other cats, the one thing, I was never afraid to ask those people what they were doing, or ask them to explain something to me. I was always out there searching this stuff out to how to get there. And so those moments where your confidence is shaken a little bit can also be turning points. And for me, this one particular moment I'm talking about was a real turning point for me on, like, okay, now it's time to get serious, buckle down, and figure out what I need to do to get there, to reach that point. So now looking back and how I've uncovered all this stuff, I think about what I had to do to get there. And I found the teachers that were right for me to give me the right information. The players that I liked, asking them, not being afraid to have them show me stuff. And even today, to this day, as a guitar teacher, I still could have a beginner guitar student, and he may do something that I think is really cool. And I'm not afraid to ask him, show me that again. I want to see what you did there. That's really cool. So in other words, I opened my mind, and I found the people that were right for me, that would give me the right tools to get there, to form my, the plan that I needed to be able to, play it out. So now cut to, about 15 years later, I've had thousands of gigs, taught thousands of lessons, and from all the experience I've had in that time, what I've been able to do is figure out all the quickest routes to get to where you want to get with your lead guitar playing. I've mapped it out in my brain over so many years, and giving so many lessons too, I've been able to figure out exactly the steps to take that have worked for me. I'm literally just doing what has worked for me, and put it in the proper format. And so I bring to you my Guitar Jams lead guitar system. 4 DVDs of guitar instruction that basically takes hopefully a little bit of foundation you already have and shows you the steps to take it to the next level. More melodic style playing and playing up and down the neck and covering all the stuff that you know I always wanted to learn and then eventually did learn. And now I'm giving it to you. You can do it!